Good morning, everyone. Hi, Jasmine here from Maritime Energy and Sustainable Development Center of Excellence at NTU. I'm very honored to moderate this session. The session focuses on fuels, options, and strategies to accelerate decarbonization. That means the focus, and to put into the context of the panel as well, we focus on the multi-fuel environment, which is very interesting, but also challenging. There are barriers to the adoption. And we have 5 distinguished panel speakers here. The first thing I would like to ask is, for each of you, would you share with us, within 1 minute, what's the latest development in this multi-fuel environment, like fuel options and strategies? Just 1 minute. Thanks. One by one. Yeah. Who would like to share first?
Anybody have?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Jasmine, and it's great to be here today. I think from a methanol perspective, and one of the potential alternative fuels that's now being discussed and deliberated upon, we see a very good opportunity from a strategic point of view to incorporate methanol into the alternative bunker pool based on its legacy availability through the petrochemical feedstock applications, which allows for a very, very wide availability. And then, again, the flexibility with low carbon as well as carbon neutral fuels already being introduced as of several years ago, with a projected 8 million tons coming online by 2027. So we're pretty well positioned. So we're now looking at moving to that last mile delivery of low carbon and carbon neutral fuels.
Yes, thanks so much. How about Louise?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. So within TotalEnergies, we are strongly committed towards net zero 2050, together with society. And as marine fuel, we are also committed to these objectives, together with our customers and together with the whole society and ecosystem of the marine industry. So what does it mean? It means that our journey has started a few years ago, and we are already delivering low carbon fuels to our customers. So namely, we are delivering LNG in Europe and very soon in Singapore with the Brasarola. We are delivering biofuel, ISCC certified second generation, here in Singapore and very soon in Europe. So that's for now. And for the future, we are working strongly on e-methanol, biomethanol, and we are also participating to a multi-industry coalition towards ammonia. So both as producers, but also as distributors. So we see the future as a multi-fuel industry, and we are going towards that direction.
Yes, that's right. We already heard many options, and that's one of the challenges, but we'll come back to that. Next, how about Michael?
Good morning, everyone. I think what we're seeing is that the industry is starting to realize that it needs to get real about this. The transition from fossil fuels has to have an end game. It needs to go somewhere, and it needs to reduce these emissions substantially. If we're going to use fossil fuel feedstock to produce fuels that have a lower energy content than what we're using today, we'll simply end up using more fuels and have no impact on emissions in a positive way. The way we have to do this, and I'm observing this morning and yesterday and the day before, how the industry is really getting together to work on how to deal with these solutions, but these solutions are not coming. So the the question being asked, when can we have green methanol? When can we have green ammonia? When can we have green e-methane? When can we have these fuels? And the answer is that we cannot have them if we're investing in the wrong type of base energy technology to produce these fuels. They cannot come from fossil fuels. They cannot come from renewables. We've spent in the last, and this is according to Goldman Sachs, $1 trillion in the last 30 years, moving the needle on fossil fuels from 82% to 81%. It's not going to happen. The way this is going to happen is that we're going to have a new generation of nuclear technologies that produce synthetic fuels from water and on the water, so floating solutions of new generations of nuclear technology that makes you that synthetic e-methanol, synthetic ammonia, whatever fuels that's required, and it's affordable and it's 24 hours a day. That's the thing that's going to unlock this. So we must make sure that the rest of the industry continues to discuss this in such a way that investments are directed in the right direction, and we're not spending another $10 trillion over the next 20 years moving the needle on fossil fuels from 81% to 80%.
Thanks for sharing. Yes, you mentioned about nuclear. Nuclear is also one of the options. Very interesting. Now, how about Tikko-san? What do you think?
Hi, this is Itochu, a Japanese trading house. So actually, the trading house are working for various options, including biofuel, methanol, but our team are working for ammonia. So in case of ammonia, we don't have any ammonia fuel vessel, and we don't have any ammonia bunkering vessel. So in order to avoid the chicken or egg, we try to develop everything in parallel together. So we say integrated project. So we integrate shipbuilding to build ammonia fuel vessel with the Japanese shipyard together, and to own-operate ammonia fuel vessel with a shipping company for the end users. And in order for us to encourage the end user to take it, we established a bunkering station. We put a priority on Singapore as a pilot project. And then, of course, if ammonia is a solution, then we have to involve the production, especially greener ammonia, like a blue or green. So then we try to build up each scale, like a shipbuilding, vessel, bunkering station, the procurement, and the production of the ammonia. Each area we try to build up. So that is our
Thank you.
target.
Yes, I agree with you. Production is also a key element. How about Sanjay?
We are not the producers. We are produce engines. We don't advocate for any particular fuel. We are ready with the technology. We are enabler of the transition. And we know that it's not going to happen 0 to 1, means today to a zero carbon. So we take you through the journey of decarbonization. So we make engines that would be flexible enough to take you through this transition. And we are ready with most of the concept. We'll be ready with ammonia concept within this year. And the demand is from the market. So if it's there, demand is there, you will have an engine a year or two after that. Methanol is already there. Hydrogen is in testing phase. So we are testing hydrogen as well, so except for nuclear. So we won't put nuclear inside the engine, but the nuclear power to make the green fuels is very welcome. And we would take you through the journey of transition. So we feel that engines is an enabler. In whatever your choice of fuel, we will be there with that. Thank you.
Thank you. After a warm-up question, now I would like to go into greater details. In view of this multi-fuel environment, like we have heard that there are options, just to name a few, let's say ammonia, methanol, hydrogen, LNG, biofuels, right? Nuclear. What do you see about the competition among maritime and other sectors? What's the level of competition, and how do we resolve all this? who would like to share first? Yep.
Well, clearly, we're not the only industry in the world that's trying to go to zero carbon. And we're not the largest emitter either. So you've got the steel industry, the cement industry, the power production industry, etc. And if we're all going to be competing for a synthetically created fuel source, I don't think we're going to be high up on the list. So we kind of have to look out for ourselves. And it's really then a combination of us and our energy suppliers. And the shipping industry has always been a waste management stream of the refining industry. And that has to change. So we have to find a way of making this ourselves. And we believe that a dedicated resource, I mean, if we can have marinized nuclear technologies on the water that produce fuels for shipping at the end of green corridors, then we're producing fuels where we need them rather than in central locations sharing with others and having to then transport them around the world. So, you know, there is a new future coming, and we need to think differently about how this is going to happen. If we continue to think the same way that we've been thinking and that got us into this funk in the first place, we're not going to succeed. We're going to have to really disruptively change the way we think about where we get our energy from.
Great, yes. New thinking. And Chris, you would like to share?
Yes. I can add that to that, that, for example, in the case of methanol, it's been used, again, for the production of numerous products. So it has a very vibrant downstream, and in some cases, a very consumer-facing role for the production of goods. It also has a fuel and fuel blending subvertical, fuel derivative downstream market that is also just as robust. So our market is split broadly 50-50 between petrochemical feedstock supply and as a fuel or fuel blending component. And given that, there's quite a bit of reference that's been built up over the years, over the decades in both sectors. So when we talk about competition for the greener or cleaner product, a little bit different specification, because the molecule, once it's produced, is the same, regardless if it's been produced from coal, natural gas, some municipal solid waste, or an electrolysis platform. So yeah, in some respects, I agree that we can't all be competing for the same, for example, green hydrogen molecule that some would like to bring it in a pure application in gas or liquid form, or perhaps methanol or even ammonia. So we have to collaborate and I think work more closely to identify which fuels will be more relevant for which vessel types, voyages, and regions, and I think we'll have more efficient projects as a result of that. And because as has been said already, the future is multi-fuel. There isn't enough of any one of these particular fuels to solve all our problems, and we're not going to get there on the back of green fuels alone. We're going to need other technologies such as carbon capture and other forms of abatement. So yeah, the competition is very real, I would say, and we should be more mindful of that. And I took note of the recent events during this past week here that brought everyone together in a more interactive way and really helped to begin to unlock the value that can be achieved through some of these discussions across different fuel groups. And we're now beginning to work more closely, for example, with the Ammonia Energy Association and the IBIA, these different organizations as we move through this process.
Right. Different organizations have to work together. I think a key is also infrastructure. Am I right? Especially in view of the so many different fields, you need different infrastructure. Then the question is, how do we build a network of supply and infrastructure for storage and distribution of low carbon and zero carbon fuels?
Yeah, thank you. So, of course, to develop those new fuels for maritime, every actor should be involved in the building of the whole supply chain. And it's, I mean, I'm going to repeat, but it's about collaboration, about cooperation between the parties. So I just want to illustrate a few examples. First example, in the logistic field, what we achieved to do here in Singapore around the bio. We partnered with Jurong Port Universal Terminal, and they accepted to invest in their own facility. We accepted to invest in a long-term contract, and this to serve a customer that was asking for bio fuel here in Singapore. So here you have three key players investing together to take a risk on one of the decarbonized fuel of the future. I want also to illustrate it through supply. Here in Singapore, we participated into a test led by GCMD, which was heading at certifying the whole supply chain of the biomolecule. So as TotalEnergies, of course, we want to develop the biomolecule, the biofuel for marine, but we absolutely need it to be very neat, absolutely compliant, and to be sure of the source and that it's going to our customers' tanks. So here with GCMD, we participated in a test and we used a chemical tracer to trace the biomolecule and make sure that our customer is effectively using this molecule of bio. So here we have one organization of Singapore, we have all of the supply chain aligned to work together toward this assurance of the supply chain. Another example that I want to give is around the economics. So we need the authorities, we need the port authorities, we need the governments to be supporting those developments. And here I want to talk about methanol, because as a company, TotalEnergies is of course looking at the new fuels as a producer. And we are studying the different locations to produce e-methanol around the globe. And as of today, methanol is of course less energy content, and it is at power of energy, it is more expensive, much more expensive. And what we find is today, the cost to build a facility of e-methanol is for 1 million ton of e-methanol around $1 billion. So this is huge if you take the market of shipping fuels around 300 million tons, which are twice as energetic today as methanol will be tomorrow, we would be talking of $600 billion. That's huge. So what we found comparing the different locations to produce e-methanol is that the only one which is today not at par but cheap compared to the other is the US, thanks to the IRA, Inflation Reduction Act. So this is bringing 40% down the cost of production of e-methanol, so that most of the producers are now looking towards the USA for production. So is there a way we can find other geographies, maybe closer to Singapore, for instance, to build these facilities to produce the fuels of the future? And this is for methanol. Of course, ammonia is a bit close to the same order of magnitude in terms of cost reduction. And to finish with, partnership with our customers. Of course, we are now number 2 players in LNG bunkering fuel, and this is thanks to a partnership that we made a few years ago with CMS EGM that took a risk, that invested in LNG dual fuel vessels, and we were able, along with them, to invest in LNG bunker fuel vessels. So that's a win-win situation, and last year, even with the high price of LNG, we were able to bunker them in Europe. And we foresee that the LNG price will go down in 25, 26, and it will become very, very competitive to the other fuels, and it's a solution of today. So that were my 4 examples of collaboration.
Very good. Yes. These are really good examples. Thanks for sharing with us. Another aspect is engine. How about what are the latest and significant developments in engine technologies in terms of low and zero carbon fuels? Perhaps Sanjay, you would like to take this question?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, that engine is not the showstopper in the whole decarbonization process. We already saw the movement in methanol market, so our methanol engines are already out, industrial engines, and we see the ramp up in the perception on ammonia. So this year we will have the technology ready, and the industrialization will start soon after. So we expect a year after, that is, the engines will be ready for ammonia as well. Hydrogen, we don't see much demand on the marine side, especially for the larger engines. So, but the testing is going on. It is more for the energy business, which is land-based power plants. So all the three fuels, the engine is ready in the sense ammonia technology is ready, and as we explained that by end of 2024, beginning 2025, the first delivery will take place for ammonia. However, give me a minute to say that I see, I mean, without being prejudiced to any particular fuel, I see a lot of fear-mongering that is happening in the industry, which is not good for perception of ammonia. And because it's a product that is being used for decades, and when people talk about collaboration, I would say we should bring into this collaboration not just the marine players, but the players who have been using ammonia successfully in the industry for a long time. So ammonia producers, fertilizer plant users, they should be brought into the workshops and the forums where we organize for ammonia. By no means I'm undermining the toxicity and other things, but we have to build up the safety standards, but this should be done to see that every fuel is given equal weightage.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think different sectors can learn from each other, take reference from each other. Now, I would like to turn the discussion into another dimension, which is a bit different. How about market structures? How can market structures and price play a part in incentivizing the adoption of low and zero carbon fuel? What do you think? Because pricing is also crucial.
Okay, and I think we have to say in the marine industries, fast movers penalty rather than fast movers incentive, because fast movers are taking all risk. And then thereafter, the people learn from the fast movers challenge. Then second movers, third movers, they may enjoy the kind of the benefit. So the people try to avoid the fast movers. So maybe we have to say, we have to introduce more incentive than now. Otherwise, if no incentive means fast movers penalty, then how we can encourage the people to be a fast mover? So fast mover, of course, what is the incentive? Now they like a EU ETS or EU Fuel Maritimes, they are discussing about this kind of issue, and also the IMO, they are discussing about the carbon levy, but maybe we need more. For example, like the financial support, not only direct finance, like stock market, how the investor in a company, I mean the stock listed companies, how the investors consider the value of the company if they take action for decarbonization, we don't know yet. And like the bank, how the bank support this kind of transitions. Of course, the vessel price for any kind of low carbon vessel is higher than today's vessel. Then of course, the bank may say it's a risk, but we have to say we need a support from bank. We need a better finance than conventional vessel. Otherwise, how ship owner can order vessel with a high price? It's very simple. And also like a government, like a port, I think they are discussing about like a green corridor, but we hope that if they introduce something, of course they may discuss like a discount of tariff, but like a fast track service, same as like business class. So business class, they can enjoy a fast track service. So we hope green ship would like to enjoy fast track. So like this. Therefore, I think many issues that each stakeholder can consider how we can provide incentive to green vessel. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing with us. Any more? Michael? Oh.
Economics is the name of the game, Jasmine. It's a fact that this industry is one of the most competitive there is. Shipping will not use something that it cannot afford to use. And there is this slow realization that I think is seeping across the room, that is seeping across the world, that what we've been told about renewable energy that's going to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper simply isn't true. So the belief that somehow solar and wind as intermittent resources are going to continue to become so cheap that we can turn that into green hydrogen, into green fuels that are going to be affordable and competitive with fossil fuels is a mirage. It is simply not true. Renewable energy is measured in system costs because you need the backup, and with material shortages and with energy intensity causing inflation in energy usage, the cost of renewable energy is going up. In the last 9 months, it's gone up by 70%. Look at what's happening in Korea. Look at what's happening in Denmark and in Norway, where I come from. It is a very expensive exercise. If we are going to produce green ammonia and green methanol from a system cost of 250 megawatt hours, sorry, $250 per megawatt hour, which is what we see in Korea, Denmark, and other countries, we're looking at green ammonia at $9,000 a ton marine fuel equivalent, and then we're looking at $7,000 marine fuel equivalent for methanol, roughly speaking. And that is not sustainable. We can't increase carbon taxes to do that. We need to do this radically different. That means that we need to bring the cost of production, the reliability of production, down to a point where we can see that. And I'm afraid I'm going to repeat this again. It's where the new generation, not the old conventional generation of nuclear technologies, comes into it. It's where a new, radically different, disruptive technology, which is now being built, comes into it. Floating production of reliable and affordable green fuels is the only economic game in town.
Right.
That's a good point. And in any commercial arrangement, you have to have both parties to be ready, willing, and able. And so on that last point, we would like to see more supportive policy and perhaps a more balanced policy approach. Say just as many carrots as sticks, for example, and at the moment we don't have enough of either to give any kind of direction. But going back to what Sanjay was mentioning about collaborating and if we cannot move forward and unlock this collaborative effort by, say, fuel blending, which is what we see already with biofuel. So we're blending this fuel into traditional bunker fuel. Even with ammonia, it has a significant pilot fuel requirement, 20-30%. So what are you going to use as pilot fuel with this alongside this green ammonia at circa $9,000 a ton? Methanol is being blended with a pilot fuel as well, but it's a little bit lower requirement, 3 to 5%. But in any event, it's a transition that we're looking at, and to make it affordable and make it successful, ensure it's successful, we need to take I think a more balanced approach, and we need policy to support that vis-a-vis the acceptance of circular CO2 in our case, and perhaps the allowance for the use of blue fuels, not just going from, say, fossil-based fuels to green. We're not going to be able to do that overnight. We need to have a bit of a transition there to make it, again, affordable and hence and enhance the ability for people to be able to pay for it and to utilize it and adopt it. Otherwise, it just won't be adopted, and we'll be back to chicken and egg, just as we were with engines and the market 5-6 years ago.
Good. Yeah. You would like to add? Just a quick one?
Just a very quick one, and I think Chris has got this right. But just to add to that, we've got an incredible amount of industry collaboration, international collaboration, government collaboration, industry collaboration, in this room, in all the other rooms, in every city around the world doing this. I would say if we can focus that collaboration on the things that matter, rather than on the paintwork on the outside of this thing, we've got to focus it on the inside. Where is this going to come from and how is it going to develop? That's what matters. It's not just about infrastructure and techniques and harmonization and standards. It's about how do we get the solution there, because otherwise it's all going to go for nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So just quickly, in view of time, as always, I would like to take one question. Here, this is the question. Yeah. So because if I'm not taking the question, you may be disappointed. Which renewable fuel is Singapore investing in? Okay, a very good question. I think infrastructure we have already covered in some ways, but if you would like to answer also, please do so. Okay, I think we will have 1 minute for the answer.
Okay, so I'll do it a very quick one. So we saw this morning the very good presentation of Mr. Theo, and we see that things are moving towards ammonia, towards methanol, and that's great. We're participating in it. But today there is no green or blue methanol or no green or blue ammonia. So we have a pragmatic approach. And today, of course, we see it as a continuum. And what we see in Singapore available is all the logistics for the bio. So it's moving little by little, but there is a huge amount of tanks able to accommodate bio blends. And there is also a big terminal of LNG for the LNG. So now, as TotalEnergies, we would like a bit more of logistics and infrastructures for LNG. Mr. Theo knows. But we will discuss this further. And we also would like to have some mechanism to be able to incorporate some biomethane through guarantees of origin or mechanism as such. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. So now we come to the end of this panel discussion. Thank you very much for sharing with us. Now let's give a very big hand to our distinguished panelists.